right, so I believe everyone should write a book, and I believe that for 3 reasons. So tonight I want to talk to you really quickly about 3 reasons you should write your book today. Everybody say, stop being a scaredy cat. I believe that there are 3 reasons everybody should write a book. And the first reason being that you should write your name on the guest book of life. I always tell my kids, do not sit in the shadows, get involved, right? And a lot of people live in the shadows. God has given you an amazing story. He's giving you amazing experiences. He's giving you amazing perspectives on life, but we sit in the shadows and we hide that gift that God has given us. So you should sign your name on the guest book of life. Don't sit in the shadows, but let people know I was here. I was on this earth. I have a legacy to leave to my family. I have a legacy to leave to my friends, to my community. And when you write a book, you tell the world, I was here. This is what I experienced, and this is how it can help you. Now, a lot of times people get, they get kind of in that inferior complex, and they feel like, well, my story is not special. Right? The Bible says that there's no new thing under the sun, and that's true. Like what you've experienced, somebody else has experienced, right? But your perspective on what you experience is completely different than anybody else's, right? You're looking at me, and you have a perspective of me. I'm looking at you, and I have a perspective of you. We're in the same Zoom call. We're all in the same situation, but we have different perspectives. And so your book is important because you have a perspective that God is giving you that can change somebody's life. The second reason is because you can literally change the world with your book. I want everyone to think about world-changing figures in this world. My favorite is Martin Luther King. Did you all know that Martin Luther King attempted suicide 3 times? Did you know that when he was a kid, he jumped out of the window trying to commit suicide? But that one man changed the world. Now, who really changed the world? Was it Martin Luther King? I want to tell you that it was the books and the authors of the books that Martin Luther King read that changed the world. Martin Luther King read books by Gandhi. He read books by people, and those books shaped his perspective on life. He read the Bible, right? Those books shaped his perspective on the world. Because of those books, Martin Luther King as an individual had the impact that he had in this world, right? And you have that same capability. God is giving you a seed of something that is so powerful, but if you do not share it, if you don't give it out, it's going to die within you. And you never know who could have changed the world, who you could have impacted. There's an urgency of your purpose. There's an urgency for your book. Think about the nurse who's in school right now, somebody who's working towards their nursing degree or their doctor's degree, or they're working to become a surgeon. When they become a surgeon, they will inevitably come into a situation where somebody's life depends on them. Somebody's life is on the line. And it may sound like this is taking it to the nth degree. It may sound like I'm being, taking it over the top. But I promise you, there's somebody out there who urgently needs your message. There's somebody out there who urgently needs to hear what you went through and how you got over it. One of my clients and big sister, Tanya Davis, right? Her book is an amazing example of how your story can change people's lives. I'm pretty sure she can give you a number of testimonies where people who experienced what she went through or was probably going through what she went through was able to find light through her story. And so you can literally change the world by changing a person's life, changing somebody's mind. When I wrote my second book, I had this magnet on my door, and the magnet on the door was a promotion for the book. I went to Sonic, and the lady who was serving me my food, she saw my magnet on my book, She asked for a book. I gave her a book. You sold her a book right there in the Sonic drive-thru. And literally a few months later, I get an email from this lady telling me how my book was so impactful, how she cried, how it ministered to her, right? This is somebody I'll never see again. I never would have imagined that my book would be able to touch someone as I'm driving through the drive-thru at Sonic. But that lets you know your story is out. There are people out there who need your story. And so I believe you should write your book because you can change the world. You can change people's lives. And then the third reason, and I'm moving through this quickly. The third reason is because, it's for the money, right? I say all the time, if you don't have a product, especially in this time, then you are the product. If you don't have a product in a time where jobs are being, we're losing jobs, in a time where AI is going to take more jobs than it gives back, right? If you don't have a product that you own, then you're going to be in a situation where you become the product, right? I believe the only difference between me and Jeff Bezos, me and Bill Gates is, if I don't have a product, there's nothing I can do to become a Bill Gates or a Jeff Bezos. A lot of people think, well, they're different in some kind of way. They're not. Their products could have failed just like ours could, right? Nobody said Microsoft had to work. Nobody said Amazon had to work. They created products. They put the work into it. They put the investment into it of time, money, resources, and energy, and they made their product what it is today. You can do the same thing with your book. Your book can create multiple streams of unlimited income. I always say the only limitation that you have when it comes to your product is the mental limitations that you have. If I get out and I say, I'm going to sell 20 books today, the only limitation that will stop me from selling 20 books is my own mental limitations. When I get out there and I say, oh, it's too hot. They just told me no, I don't want to do it anymore. Those are the only limitations. So if you don't have a product, you are the product. But when you put your book out, when you create your product, there's nothing in this world that stops you from moving into the financial benefits that you're looking for. And lastly, all right, so we know why we should write a book. Now I want to talk to you about the 3 mental obstacles that people are faced with that keeps them from taking that next step. Because I know it's a few people on here, you want to do it, but there's something that's, it's just like, I'm not ready yet. And I want to tell you, stop being a scaredy cat. Right? When I was young, if I got scared, my brothers, y'all know how Chris is. He'd tell me, stop being a scaredy cat. Well, scaredy cat in this scenario is somebody who's always worried about the cash. They're worried about their ability and they're worried about the time, right? Oh, I can't write a book. I don't have that money. I don't have the money. Or I can't write a book. I'm not good at writing. Or I can't write a book. I'm just so busy. If you allow these 3 things to stop you, you will never experience the greatness that God has for you and your story. When it comes to cash, there are multiple ways to finance your book project with minimal to no money coming out of pocket. Most of my clients now, we do pre-sale campaigns that I would help you with. I have clients who've made $3,000, $1,500 from pre-sales before the book even came out. When I put out my second book, I generated over $5,000 just in pre-sales to put my book out. Those pre-sales paid for the book, it paid for my book signing party, it paid for everything. So that's something that I would help you with if you're ready to take that step. When it comes to ability, guess what? Not everybody's a writer. That's why we do manuscript coaching. We do co-writing with our clients. We help you write the book. If you don't even want to be dealing with writing at all, we do ghostwriting. You just tell us what to write and we'll write it for you. And then lastly, if you're worried about time, I promise you, it doesn't take a lot of time. 1 hour a day, 30 minutes a day. As long as you're consistent I promise you, you can get more done than you think. A lot of people think they have to sit down and write for 5 hours to be a real good writer. You just need to do something consistently. If you can write 200, 300 words a day consistently, I promise you, you will have more done than you think. So are there any questions? Because we got 5 minutes. Are there any questions so far?
So how do you start?
How do you start? Wonderful question. First thing, you need to decide what your book is going to be about, right? And the way I tell people to decide is figure out what problem do you want to solve for people, right? Your story, I appreciate everybody has a story. Everybody has a situation in life. But again, remember I said there's no new thing under the sun. So when you think about your story, what problem is it that you want to help people solve? Like, right? So if you have a story where you overcame drug abuse, right? What were the steps that led you to your victory? Secondly, I would say if you're not going to use the manuscript coaching, if you're deciding, hey, I want to write this myself, I always tell people the first step is to just write. I don't want you to worry about grammar, punctuation. I just want you taking what's in your head and putting it on paper, right? Micheline, you have a question?
So when writing a book, do you think that it's best to start with the title and then you'll be able to fill in the blanks, or do the blanks and then start getting a title from there?
I do not think it's best to start with the title because the title will change. This is my personal approach. I don't think it's best to write out an outline because I feel an outline is going to box you in. What I do is I write out, I do a brainstorm and I write out every topic that I want to write about, right? So when I wrote my book, Fall in Love with the Struggle, I said, I want to talk about overcoming fear. I said, I want to talk about, overcoming doubt. Like all those things that I said I wanted to talk about, I just wrote them out on a piece of paper. And then I just started writing on each topic, right? So when I wrote that book, I spent 8 hours a day writing, and I would just write until I was empty. Once I was empty and that topic was done, then I would move to the next topic. There were times where when I would start writing on one topic, if I didn't feel it anymore, I didn't feel like writing on that topic, but my mind was really focused on another topic, I'd start writing on that other topic. And I say that because, when you put yourself in a box and you say, well, I got to finish this chapter, that stops creativity. So the whole point of, what I'm telling you to do is to keep your creativity flowing. And if you're not, if writing about A is not where your spirit is today, but you're really worried, you're really focused on Z, then write about Z and just get everything out on the table. I compare it to a puzzle. When we start a puzzle, we don't open the box and try to put the puzzle together, do we? We open the box and then we do what? Dump all the pieces on the table, right? And so that's what you're doing when you start writing. You're not worried about punctuation. I don't want you worried about structure. Oh, does this look like how a book would be? Nope. I just want you, whatever's in your heart, I want it on that paper. So one of the things we would do if we did manuscript coaching together is we would do that brainstorm session, and then we would start working on each topic and getting all the pieces of the puzzle together. And what a lot of my clients find out is, and it's one of their biggest frustrations as well, is that when we get to the end of the book and we start looking at all the pieces of the puzzle, chapter 9 might become chapter 1. Chapter 1 might become chapter 3, right? And that's the art of it. That's the beauty of it. So I'm happy to offer a special offer for the millionaires